Well, there's some new questions about that Navy SEAL raid on a top al-Qaeda official in Yemen that sadly cost the life of one of our special commandos, Navy SEAL Team 6 Chief Petty Officer William Ryan Owens. Yemeni officials say as many as 30 civilians were killed during the raid that also cost Owens his life. But the White House says the U.S. captured important intelligence information in that raid that will assist our government in protecting us and preventing terrorism. So, what are the lessons learned from this military operation? Michael Waltz is a former Green Beret commander, former counterterrorism advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. He's also the author of Warrior Diplomat and a Fox News contributor. Well, it's good to see you. First of all, may we always remember and honor, of course, may we honor William Ryan Owens. He was out there, gave the ultimate sacrifice to our country, has sacrificed his life. He is a hero and someone who we should not forget. Walk us through, if you could, the challenges and the difficulties of this type of raid. As you know, it's being criticized by some in Washington. What did he face? What do we face? Is the criticism fair?
Well, you know, Eric, I've been on both ends of these types of missions. I've been a commander out on the ground leading these types of raids, but then I also served, as you mentioned, in the Bush White House and have seen these types of missions get staffed up to the president, receive his approval and consideration, and then kind of given the green light, so to speak. In my understanding, in this mission, both Secretary of Defense Mattis, the newly appointed Secretary of Defense, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs recommended to President Trump that he give the green light on it, and that's exactly what should happen. Before that recommendation goes to the president, it goes through extensive staffing. When I was in the Bush White House, the general concept would get briefed to President Bush, but then he would delegate the actual execution depending on weather and intelligence and other pieces. That's how it should happen. How it has been happening under the Obama administration is this just kind of death by questioning until often, you know, the mission was irrelevant, or they put so many restrictions on what our forces could do that it really kind of hamstrung our operators out in the field.
Well, and this operation apparently was planned by the Obama administration. They just didn't go through with it, we're told, because they're waiting for a moonless night, and there wasn't one until, you know, the former president was out of office and President Trump was president.
Yeah, that's right. And what happens is often, you know, once you're given that green light, and in this case, I think President Trump was exactly right to do so, because, you know, the difference in just conducting a drone strike and blowing up these types of compounds, whether they're in Yemen or Pakistan or wherever, and actually putting the guys on the ground, even though that exposes them to casualties and to fire, is the intelligence that we can pull off of the battlefield. And that's in the form of prisoners sometimes, that's in the form of thumb drives, computer disks. You know, al-Qaeda is known for actually keeping very meticulous records. And in this case, we were able to pull some sensitive information off the battlefield. Unfortunately, we lost a brave Navy SEAL in the fight, but that's the risks that we all know we're taking when we go into these types of raids. And I'm glad to see the green light being turned back on, whether it's in Yemen or Somalia or Pakistan or Afghanistan. We need to put al-Qaeda, ISIS, and others on their back foot and hit them hard.
Yeah, there is a very vivid description of what happened. Apparently the drones, some of the locals say they heard the drones, and that may have tipped off the al-Qaeda leaders. And then this is what happened. Let me read you from the New York Times about this. It says the Americans and the Emiratis, they were on this raid too, found themselves in a gun battle with al-Qaeda fighters who took up positions in other houses, a clinic, a school, and a mosque, often using women and children as cover. The commandos were taken aback when some of the women grabbed weapons and started firing, multiplying the militant firepower beyond what they expected. An MV-22 Osprey aircraft involved in the operation experienced a hard landing and had to be destroyed by an airstrike. I mean, no matter how well you can plan something, and you've been out there, you know it, you've been out there in the front lines. You just do the best. I mean, look what happened with the raid on bin Laden. You know, we lost one chopper when it you know, hit. It just can't plan for everything, and these men and women are brave, they are courageous, they are doing something that many Americans would never do, and they're doing it in our name to fight terrorism.
No, that's right, and what I understand happened in this particular mission is when our forces went in, whether the drones were overheard or the insertion was overheard, often it's in very isolated mountainous areas. And we started getting chatter, so to speak, that the raid was compromised. At that point, the ground force commander has a decision to make. He can abort the mission or he can press forward. And in this case, for a variety of, I'm sure, good reasons, the ground force commander decided to press on. He took that risk. That's what he's paid to do, and engaged in a fight. The other piece is that often we're watching these areas with drones, and we'll kind of count the number of potential fighters. Now, if there's also women and children there, and suddenly they pick up weapons as well, the number of enemy combatants, could have easily doubled and really presented, a very difficult fight for our SEALs. At that point, a commander can engage, depending on the type of mission. If it's a hostage rescue, he's going to go in and be very precise, or he can step back and call in air support and, frankly, kind of start leveling the place if it's so difficult.
Well, sadly, we did lose him, and we are thankful. This is a war. It's a war on terrorism. As you know, Michael Waltz, who's been there on the ground, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your insight on what really does go on.
Thank you so much.
Of course.